Well, good afternoon, everybody. It's the Cryptid Huntress. I'm Jessica Jones. Oh my gosh, I'm so happy to be here today. And I'm glad you guys are here too. I see that chat already popping today. We had such a wonderful show on Saturday night. I hope you guys all were able to catch that. We had a good crowd in the chat Saturday night, and I had all my team from Cryptid. Let's see, it's CW Operators in Survival, actually, is what the team's called. And we had a full house. The entire screen was packed full of people on Saturday night. So thank y'all so much for being here and being a part of that. We always have a good time. Y'all got to hear about Operation Smoke with the guys and the gals. There were two of us ladies on the screen. And so wonderful, wonderful people and wonderful time. So all right, we have another wonderful show for y'all today. We're going to be talking about inner earth creepers. That's how I titled it. Tunnels and caves are where we do encounter quite a bit of cryptids, and some of these scarier ones, I guess I could argue that. I think that caves are one of the scariest places. I guess it's like one scariest place that I've been on a cryptid investigation. I've actually got some pictures from that investigation that we did up in Tennessee of that Skinwalker Cave. And so we're going to show that today, of course, but we've got a lot of different encounters that we're going to be talking about today that involve tunnels, historical records of people who have encountered creatures in tunnels and in caves all over the United States and all over the world. I do have Dr. John Stamey here with me today. He and I are going to be at the Myrtle Beach Bigfoot Festival this weekend in Myrtle Beach, South Carolina. And he's the organizer of that event. And so, of course, I got him here today. He is my resident expert on the Scape or Swamp Lizardman. And it has some really good information on some reptilians that have been found in a cave out in Vietnam. We're going to talk about that a little bit today, too, as well as a whole bunch of other stuff. So let's get this show going. Let's get the party going. And if you guys would like to follow along with my shows and do all that jazz, please go over to my website. That's thecryptidhuntress.com. You can find all of my shows archived over there and my calendar of events and whatever else you need, all my social media links as well. And I do have a Patreon and an Etsy shop if you guys would like to support my work. That is War Woman Goods over on Etsy. And just look me up. I'm the Cryptid Huntress all over the internet, so you can find me there. And thank you guys so much. If you'd like to become a member of my channel too, I do put exclusive content on YouTube for my channel members. So shout out to all you guys as well. Okay, well, I guess, actually, before I bring John up, let me show you guys. I've got a flyer for the event this weekend. I know we're going to talk about it before we go today. We're going to talk a little bit about the festival, but this is the Myrtle Beach Bigfoot Festival. We have a roundtable panel on Friday night. It's going to be at the same venue as the event on Saturday. And I think it's called the Four Corners or 4 Points Sheraton in Myrtle Beach. So hopefully we will see you guys there. It's going to be a great lineup. I'm going to have Harley Owens will be back there with me. We got to hang out last weekend. He was on the show this weekend, and then we get to hang out again next weekend. So, but we've got a lot of really great people. David Pardue will be there, and Matthew Delph, and all the North Carolina Investigates guys, and Dr. John Stamey will be there as well. And you guys also come see me down in Florida, July the 15th through the 18th at the Full Disclosure Now conference down in St. Petersburg. And you guys can get more information on that on my website, or go to fulldisclosuremovement.com for more information and to get your tickets. And I do have a discount code. So you guys be sure to use my discount code. It's on my website as well. Okay. Well, let's get this show going because I don't know. You guys ready to get creeped out today? I am. I like getting creeped out on a Monday. Okay. So on this episode, we are going to be talking about some of the world's scariest cryptids and creatures that are seen in the tunnels and caves across the world, from encounters in the deep caves and caverns of the Appalachian Mountains to the devil-faced reptilians in the world's largest cave in Vietnam. Nothing is darker than the eerie depths and passages that wind their way beneath our feet. Tales of inner earth beings emerging from caves have been told for centuries up to today. Dr. John Stamey is here with me, and he received his doctorate from North Carolina State University in Raleigh. During his years in that program, he was also a research associate with the Rhine Research Center in Durham, working with renowned researchers such as Dr. Rhine Feather. He's always had an interest in the paranormal. He runs a number of Comicons as well as Bigfoot and Lizardman festivals. He co-hosts ScaryCast, a weekly podcast on Blog Talk Radio, and airs his shows on his YouTube channel, Bigfoot and Company. He's published several books, and you guys, please be sure to get your copies of these. Bigfoot Explorers: An Introduction to Hominology. Look up in the sky, aliens, UFOs, and anomalies. Lizardman, Bigfoot, and Friends. And you can find him, like I said, on his YouTube channel, Bigfoot and Company. You guys, please help me welcome to the show my good friend, Dr. John Stamey. Hey, John.
Hey there, Jessica. How are you doing?
I am super excited today that you're here, and I'm also excited that I get to hang out with you this weekend in Myrtle Beach.
Oh, we got a great crew to hang out with. You're going to be here. Mike Familant's going to be here. Simon Garth is going to be here. I'll tell more about that later. We got a lot of cool people, and it's Myrtle Beach, of course. Great things happen in Myrtle Beach. So come to it's also called the Bigfoot Comicon. Be sure to come there. Enjoy. In fact, I was up in Clayton, Georgia, talking about the upcoming World UFO Conference that you're going to be one of the keynote speakers. And a lot of people were asking about you. You're a popular person up there because you have done the Georgia Bigfoot Conference with me a number of times.
I have. Oh, well, thank you. I feel like I'm getting to know people up there pretty well. I definitely know their Bigfoots well up there. And I've been doing research in that area for a long time. So that's great to know. That's a great bunch of people. And there's nothing like being around like-minded individuals who have a love for Bigfoot, John.
Right. And I was going to say, I've just gotten a phone call from some folks from Atlanta that I saw this weekend. They got a flyer for the Bigfoot event this weekend, and they're coming all the way from Atlanta to see us talk. I can't wait.
Oh, imagine that. People want to hear what we have to say about weird stuff. I love that.
and just know that we're going to have an Atlanta Bigfoot conference coming up in September. It'll be at Piedmont University. Great time, great crowd, lots of fun. So we're getting the word out there, and I know Bigfoot likes what we're doing.
Oh yeah, for sure. And the aliens too, and the creepy cryptids out of the caves around the world as well. I think they're all excited about what we do because we're advocates for these cryptids. That's what I think, John.
That's right. I mean, look, I was one of the first fans of the Lizardman, and I turned a lot of people on to the Lizardman, and and then we go to Bigfoot, and then we've got some really cool stuff. As you know, I'm doing a lot of research about Tartaria. There's so much stuff coming. In fact, Gerald Fountain, who is one of your, I guess, administrators in the chat room, I discuss this frequently with him. He and I share a lot of videos. We're coming up with some great things. And just this whole world is full of interesting things. Don't ever think that we live in a boring world. Just don't.
Well, if anybody watches my show, they'll know that this is not a boring world. Okay, we try to keep it spicy. Okay, and I'm exploring. You can live vicariously through me if y'all need to. Okay. Oh man, we've got some wonderful comments too in the chat today, and everybody's really excited about talking about caves, and they are super creepy, John. And I know that Bigfoots live in caves, I think. I mean, I'm not positive, but we got to wonder, like, where are Bigfoots going when we're not seeing them? And we rarely see them, right? But
right. Well, don't everybody forget that Bigfoot is interdimensional, and with the snap of a finger, it can open up a portal, disappear in it, and it's gone. I had that my first Bigfoot sighting was just like that. I was sitting there eating lunch, looking out a dining room window table, and all of a sudden, I mean, it was Friday afternoon at 3:30. There came a Bigfoot. It was about 8 feet tall, reddish brown hair. And I jumped out of my chair. The door wasn't but about 10 feet away, and I jumped out there, and it was gone. But I know what I saw. And everybody, when you know what you see, don't let people say, oh, you didn't. Maybe it was something else. Maybe it was a squirrel. Come on. You know what a Bigfoot looks like. And when you see one, log it, jot down the story so that you remember all the details.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, for sure. That's what I do. I usually, draw. I like to draw pictures of my encounters that I've had, especially when it comes to other weird cryptids, because I've seen more than just Bigfoot. I've had encounters with ETs before, and other weird stuff. So yeah, and of course I guess you could consider us the woo camp, right, John? When it comes to Bigfoot, because there are those two different camps. We got the flesh and blood. I think they're flesh and blood too, so I'm both. But yeah, I think there is some kind of
us part of the we're part of the reality camp, Jessica. We understand that people can be multidimensional. And it's like, it's like you can have keys on your counter, turn around, walk around, come back, they're gone, walk around again, and they're there. Now, don't tell me that hasn't happened to everyone. We live in a multidimensional world. We slip and slide through various time streams. And I've had stuff disappear and then reappear. Haven't you?
Yes, I've actually watched objects levitate before my eyes before, right off my bedstand. I have. I've seen some weird stuff. I think it was me that did it though. I'm just this weird supernatural person. So it's probably me, or it could have been the ghost in my house. I've lived in some haunted locations, and so I think it was just a really good mix of all the weird stuff that my body was doing, and then also the ghosts, and God knows what was going on. But I've seen some weird stuff, John.
Right. Me too.
Yeah. Yeah. Oh my gosh. Well, it never ends. And I put myself in positions to see weird stuff, actually. That's what I live for. And so today is no different. We're about to get weird on the show today. And we're going to talk about some caves, okay? The caves and the cryptids and things that people have found. I kind of wanted to start off with the tunnels this afternoon. It's morning for some people and night for others who are watching right now. But for us, it's afternoon. And there's some pretty well-known like creatures that were spotted in caves. And it was actually not caves, but tunnels, actually, man-made tunnels. And it was documented throughout the years, decades ago. And people still to this day don't know what these creatures were. And I thought maybe we'll start out with one of those today, because this is one I had never heard of. This was actually in Toronto, in Canada, and it was called the Toronto Tunnel Monster. John, have you heard of this?
No, I have not. I can't wait to hear about it.
Okay, well, let me pull this up, and let's see if I can find this. Well, and I saw some people earlier. How about this? Before we get into this, let me rewind, and let's talk about caves for just a second. Okay, caves and tunnels, and maybe pull up some facts on the U.S. caves, and see, this is why I don't like caving. What are these people doing, John? That's somebody's feet squeezing through a little tight crevice right there. Going spelunking.
Jessica, I don't like that at all. I don't like that at all. No way.
I can't stand that. And honestly, this is tragic. I was going through the caving, people that go caving. This gentleman actually perished being stuck for like 27 hours upside down like that, because he had gone through a hole. And his name was John Jones, actually. He was stuck for 27 hours, and he ended up dying. He had a heart attack. He couldn't get out. He was completely stuck. And my God, that's my worst. I think that's one of my worst nightmares. I'll be honest. That's got to be one of my worst nightmares. And why I don't do caving like that.
I like standing up and walking, don't you? I like standing up and walking, don't you?
Yes, I do. But RIP to that gentleman. I feel horrible. I just would never put myself in a situation like that purposely, but that's just me. Now, this is the kind of cave that I don't mind. It's got a lot of room. And you and I, John, we'd be happy in a cave like that, I think. But of course, we have critters and creatures that live in caves. Now, we're not only do monsters or any kind of cryptids live in caves, we have bears, we have cougars and panthers, we have, there's all sorts of things that can be in caves. Bats are a big one. Okay. And a lot of people probably don't like bats. Okay. I don't know. Let me share the screen right quick. And let's go over some facts on these caves in the United States. Okay. And we're going to be talking about a tunnel actually out of Toronto. But let's see if this is coming up. Here we go. It says the United States has an extensive network of caves with over 45,000 known caves within the contiguous states. These caves, many formed by the dissolution of limestone by rainwater, offer a range of fascinating geological and natural features. They include the presence of 4 of the 7 longest caves in the world within the U.S. national parks, and the existence of the world's largest cave system, Mammoth Cave in Kentucky. Wow, Gerald and Jean and I from Midwest Night Watchers, John, we just did a show a couple weeks ago on the scariest, most dangerous parks, national parks, and Mammoth Cave was up there. Mammoth Cave National Park was one of the top most dangerous parks because of these caves. And it says that, let's see, the National Park Service manages over 150 areas with caves, and including 4 of the 7 longest caves in the world. The longest caves are Mammoth Cave in Kentucky, Jewel Cave in South Dakota, Wind Cave in South Dakota, Lechuguilla Cave in New Mexico, and wow, that's wild. And they say they are mostly formed by rainwater dissolving into limestone. And let's see, Mammoth Cave has over 400 miles of explored passages, John. 400 miles. Okay, so, and it says the state distribution, Tennessee, Missouri, Kentucky, and Arkansas have the highest concentration of caves in the United States. Okay, well, that's just some fun facts for the audience today when it comes to caves, and fun facts for me too, because I didn't know that. I didn't know anything about caves. I mean, I know a little bit about caves. I also know that people go missing around caves in our national parks, John, and we have this map of the main cave systems in the United States. Right below the map of the missing persons clusters with the Missing 411 series, David Politis did this research, and I'm sure other people have done research on it as well, but we have an exorbitant amount of missing people out of our national parks. And it looks like a lot of those are where the caves are, John. What do you think about that?
It really does. And I know that there's so many stories about Mount Shasta and people vanishing in and around the caves. They're particularly scary. And I just, even when you have an exploring partner, you better have a rope around everybody so that everybody's kind of in a chain. Otherwise, you could just vanish and nobody will know where you go. They are dangerous, and please be careful. I mean, I don't do any caving. Last cave I was in was Linville Caverns up near where I'm from. Beautiful. Lots of stalactites and stalagmites. It was great. But I didn't like being in there. I mean, it's, God, if you have an earthquake and all of a sudden the entrance gets closed up, you're out of luck. And I mean, you got to be careful. You got to be careful about that kind of stuff. I mean, some people have more nerve than I do. I'm just sitting here in my little condo and I have enough ghosts here.
Well, you don't want to run into robot grandma at Mount Shasta. I'm not sure if you're familiar with that story, but that's something that I've looked into. A little bit,
yes, I am.
On my show.
Oh, no, yeah. I don't want to. I mean, that's the thing about AI. They know what they want to do, and they don't necessarily consider what you want. And that's why it's a little scary. Robots can be. They can be very scary.
Oh, yeah. You know what concerns me are the metal rebar. It's like a gate or some kind of a fence almost that has been put up in front of a lot. It's like a cage, actually. Let's just call it a cage. Put up on some of these cave entrances across the United States. Now, I'm not sure exactly which caves they are, but I've seen pictures, and it almost looks like they're trying to keep something in. the caves? It could be to keep us out, but to me, I'm thinking they're trying to keep something in.
Well, there have been a number of people that have gone to the Grand Canyon and have said that a lot of those cave entrances now have bars on them that you can't get in. And, I think that is an example of they're trying to keep people out. But yes, it seems though there are some examples where they're trying to keep something in, like near Kelly, Kentucky. You're familiar with the Kelly Little Green Men and the very dangerous caves there. And there are stories of the government, if they wanted to keep someone on ice, they would lower them down into one of those holes, and they talked about crazy beings and crazy things down there. So I mean, just don't make anybody mad.
Don't make anybody mad.
If you notice the men in black following you, keep your mouth shut and smile.
Oh yeah, act like you don't speak their language or something. I don't know. Just keep it moving, y'all. Be careful. And speaking about being in places that are wild and crazy and a little scary, we've got Harley Owens and Doc from Prometheus Lens podcast. Harley's with Bigfoot Reports and Data. We're going to be at the Myrtle Beast Festival together this weekend. But I was out with Doc and with Harley this past weekend in, what was that? Not this past week, the weekend before last, in East Tennessee. Where there's plenty of caves out there. We didn't hit any caves up while we were there, but nonetheless, we had quite the adventure and did a show on it Saturday night. So thank you for being here, Harley and Doc as well, and whoever else is in the chat.
Harley's great. Harley's a lot of fun to talk to. He really is.
Oh yeah, for sure. Well, Tennessee has a lot of caves, and I guess this is a good time to go over this real quick and to talk about it. Last year, about a year and a half ago, I did a cave investigation in Tennessee, up in North Tennessee. I can't remember the name of it. It was in a very, very north-centered part of Tennessee. And it was at our friend Farah's house. And we were investigating, I just say the S-Walker, I'm going to say Skinwalker Cave. And it was on some Choctaw land, actually. And this is Farah right here. This is our friend whose house it was that she had this cave entrance about 30 feet from her back door. She had I think it was 2 or 3 openings to this gigantic cave in her backyard. Now that's the opening. And this is like me standing inside the cave in the very, the foyer. Let's just call it the foyer. and had the camera pointed out to where the opening was. There's a couple people standing right there. It was in the middle of the summer. It was very hot. That's the team. I think that that was Cryptid Warfare Team, CW operators. And we were so hot that we would go down the cave and it was like a refrigerator down there. So it was our one place to get cool while we were down there, but it was super creepy. This is actually where we had a campfire right outside the cave at night. And we did sleep. We slept just right outside of it. Okay. Kind of in her driveway. We had tents and everything set up. But this was a gigantic cave. Shout out to Brian. That's Brian on the team. And I think that's Zook, if I'm not mistaken, doing some recon. It was massive, John. It looked small from the hole that you go in, the cave entrance. But when you got in it, it was massive. And it went back for miles. Okay, miles. And we did have one, it was super creepy. We had one instance where the guys went kind of spelunking, I think is what you call it. Got way back deep into that cave. And when they got about as far back as the rope would reach, because they had ropes, like you had mentioned about wearing ropes,
right?
Something peeked its head around the corner, and they got it on a video. Somebody had their phone out, I guess, and it looked like a pale crawler peeked its head around the wall for a split second, and then its head went back. And that's all they saw of it. But we do believe that there's probably a pale crawler or two back there, if not more.
What now? I'm not familiar with that. What kind of a crawler is that?
A pale crawler. Let's see if I have a picture of one. I thought I meant to pull one up. Here it is. One of these things.
Oh, that looks a lot like a lot of fun. Mm-hmm.
I know, right? Well, there's been movies made about going into caves. There's one called The Descent, and I saw somebody in the chat had mentioned this earlier. If you want to go caving, don't watch that movie. That's my advice. Don't watch these movies because you will never go into cave, and it actually is kind of scary, just like that movie, if you ask me. It's not much different than that. But nonetheless, we could hear, voices coming out of the caves. Farrah had actually put a voice recorder out at the mouth of the cave before we were out there. And she sent us out there, John, because her chickens were getting kidnapped out of her chicken coop. And there was a trail of feathers going into the cave entrance.
All right, Jessica, I'm going to tell you something. There's no such thing as a kidnapped chicken. There is fried chicken, but there is not a kidnapped chicken.
Well, today you heard it first. You heard it first here.
That's right.
She had kidnapped chickens over there. They were being held hostage. We don't know if they survived or if they were being eaten, but there was no blood, no body parts, and there was actually a stick that had been stuck into her chicken coop, and it was obvious. It looked like something had shooed the chickens to the front so that something could open the door. It had to have hands to be able to do that and to open the door. So, and she had some dark figures on their camera system around their house, so it looked like either a Bigfoot or a dog man had been doing this dirty work out there. But nonetheless, we got there. You had mentioned interdimensional earlier, and the way I described going into that cave was like a portal. And as soon as you got into the downstairs, like as soon as you crossed that threshold, gosh, I can't talk today. It felt as though it was a different world, John. And so there were no footprints in that cave. We expected to see footprints of some sort, animal prints, human footprints. There was nothing in there.
Really?
And, nothing. And so it made me think, well, maybe something had climbed on the side of the wall, taken the chickens and climbed up. But I don't know. I mean, to us, we did get some activity with our SLS camera that Farrah had. We had which shows stick figures of spirits, kind of, I guess, something that you can't see with your eyes, but there's a body there and the camera picks it up. And a giant crawled out of the cave while we were there, and two little a giant. It was something giant. Yeah, a giant stick figure climbed out of the side of the cave, but we couldn't see it except from the SLS camera.
And what did it do? It came out and it just went one way or the other.
It stayed at the right where I told you it felt like there was a threshold, the portal right at the front of the cave. It stayed there, and the two little ones that I had with it were dancing around my REM pod and doing all sorts of weird stuff. But they were kind of interacting with us a little bit until they ended up crawling back into their hole they came out of, and we never saw them again. So there's definitely a paranormal, supernatural aspect to that, whatever was going on in that cave. But I think that it could have been a portal.
And by the way, what state is all this action in?
Tennessee, where I was last weekend. Yeah. Tennessee is an area of high strangeness, and it is one of the places that has the biggest cave systems in the world. I know Kentucky's got Mammoth Cave, I think, right? But there's a lot of caves in Tennessee as well. And I'll tell you something else that I worry about a little bit. I know this is from a movie, but the hills have eyes. Okay, the feral people that are out there. Yeah. That worries me about the caves a little bit too. Okay, I'm not gonna lie. So there's that element as well, especially out in Tennessee. Harley had warned us about that before we went out there, and but we didn't come across any kind of feral people when we were out there.
So they're not out there hunting for Elvis, huh?
No, I don't think so. But
Thank you very much.
Yeah, exactly. Okay, well let's get to this first one. This is called the Tunnel Monster, and this is actually out of a tunnel in Vancouver. No, not Vancouver, Toronto. Okay, and this is back from, let's see, what year is this? The Tunnel Monster of Cabbagetown. And I guess there's around 6 million people that live in the greater Toronto area, but there's a lot of secret tunnels under the city. And I want to show this. This is actually a picture from centuries ago, at least a century or more ago, of where they were building the tunnels back then. And back in 1979, a man named Ernest went to the Toronto newspaper saying that he was a little embarrassed, but he was terrified about something that had happened to him, and he wanted them to cover this because he said that he felt like the public needed to know about this. And he said that he was taking care of some feral kittens near his house. And after one of them went missing, he went looking for it, and he found himself in a secret underground tunnel that he didn't know about. He said that it was dark, but he had a small flashlight. And so he started walking into this tunnel looking for this kitten that was missing. And he stumbled upon this little creature right here. And you can see it in that top corner right there. That's what he described it as looking like. He said that it was thin with long legs, almost like a monkey, about the size of a kid. It had piercing and slanted eyes that glowed terrifying blood red. It turned towards him in the darkness, and it hissed at him to get out. So I was like, get out. Like, okay, so he said that he obliged. He turned around. He ran out as fast as he could, and he was fully convinced that he had seen a creature. He heard it say, "Get out," and it was just terrifying. But it was just a kind of humanoid.
Okay, now Jessica, let me ask you a quick question, because it's a little hard to tell. Is that a drawing, or was that an actual photograph?
This is not an actual photograph. I do have an actual photograph of the lizard, of the devil face lizard out of Vietnam. We're going to show that in just a minute. This is a drawing.
And hopefully I'll get to tell my story about Vietnam as well.
Oh, you will? Well, I'm going to let you tell your story, because it's probably the same story. It could be similar. But some of the Ojibwe, I think is how you pronounce that. The Ojibwe people live in this area of Canada, and they said that there is a small human-like figure called I don't know if I'm going to pronounce this right, but it's called the Mimigwesi. And this is it right here. They think that maybe this is what he saw. And they said that this is a water spirit that actually is found on the banks and waterways. They describe it as a small human-like figure that is a trickster. It likes pulling pranks on people, especially unsuspecting humans. And they say that it could either bring good or bad fortune to whoever it runs into. And so they think that that's what he ran into. I don't know. I mean, with these other encounters that we're going to tell the audience about today, John, I think it could have been a little reptilian, or maybe even an ET of some sort. What is your thought on it?
Well, I would say, okay, and this is a story I haven't really told a lot. I might have told it on your story, but when I was 4 years old, the reason that I've always been interested in the paranormal is I walked into my bedroom. That's back when we didn't run the air conditioning because it wasn't quite hot enough. And there was sitting on my windowsill was a larger and a smaller ET, a grays. And they had something that looked rudimentarily like clothes on, and it was just terrifying. I ran out screaming, got my mom. Of course, they were gone, and I made her lock those windows. I didn't want any part of it. But the ETs that I have seen have all looked like the grays with the thin, rounded heads and everything. Not like that. That's intricate. If you could pop that on there one more time.
Absolutely. Yeah, it's creepy. It's a dark figure. He said that he heard it hiss to get out. So I don't know. I bet
did he not try to talk to him? Did he not try to say, hello, how are you?
John, I think most normal humans would not. Most normal humans would take off running.
I know, and you and I would stand there and say, "Hey, how's it going? You've been watching television lately or something?"
I mean, I would sit there for a minute and decide. You have to go with your gut. Okay. If it's telling me to get out, there could be 5,000 other of them right behind him in the dark. You know what I mean? He may not be the only one. And in that case, you are in big trouble. So it's best to kind of, if it says leave, you probably need to leave. And, a lot of people think, John, that when you encounter something with red glowing eyes, it's demonic. So there's that factor as well. I don't necessarily believe that, but some people do.
Well, now, some people have seen the Moth Man cryptid, and sometimes it's had red eyes, but I'm firmly a believer that the Moth Man is a harbinger of good and has helped so many people and warned them about things. I can tell you, Mothman warned me about something, and that's why I'm still alive here. Kept me from running off the side of the road. And, and I've seen red eyes in the rear view mirror. It was scary, but they were red, and I don't think it was necessarily a demon. Now, I've heard that some demons have red eyes, and I've heard that some have blue eyes. But that's just some things that I've heard. But I know I've seen a Mothman-like creature with red eyes and saved me from driving into the swamp at 80 miles an hour. Thank you, Mothman.
Oh my gosh.
I don't know what to say. It's in my book. Look Up in the Sky. It was a terrifying time when I went to sleep at the wheel, and it was on a country road, and woke up because I heard that screeching on top of my car. And it's funny, I never looked to see if there were scratches, but I was just so thrilled that I was going off the side of the road, and I knew to swerve back on, carefully get over to the other lane and stop the car. I was terrified. But I've seen those glowing red eyes. I don't think they were evil. Saved me. I think more. And you know what else is funny, Jessica?
What's that?
When you talk to an engineering type friend of yours that is all straight laced and doesn't talk about any paranormal, and after about 2 beers he says, "John, let me tell you a story," and it's like, oh my God, is it just as harrowing of a story with a cryptid driving along next to a cemetery, and that was a terrifying story. And I asked him about it the next day. He said, "No, we won't talk about that." I said, "Well, okay." A lot of people have had cryptid stories, and they don't like to remember them. You probably come across that as you've interviewed people, right, Jessica?
I have, absolutely. And as a matter of fact, Harley just reminded me that Oak Ridge Lab and CERN, okay, they actually have a large ion collider at Oak Ridge Lab. They admit to it. They work with CERN out of Switzerland, and there's no telling what kind of experiments they're doing when they turn that machine on, and they're ripping through space and time, and opening portals. I mean, we don't know what all's going on up there in Tennessee. I think that there's probably these large hadron colliders and large ion colliders all over the place, and we're not fully aware of every place that they are, probably. But there's that element too that could bring some weird interdimensional type of creatures and beings out of them into these caves.
And by the way, speaking of that type of thing, I read a story from some scientists about when I'm trying to think, when our the poles flip and the protection from the earth goes down, we're subject to a lot of plasma. And if plasma goes into the ground, you have to be careful because it can reanimate the dead. And the Army, and there's something called an Initiative 8888. Are you familiar with that?
No, I'm not.
Well, in fact, I've downloaded a copy. I'll get you a copy this weekend when you're here, and we need to talk about that on your show. But plasma can reanimate bodies, and we can have zombies. People that would normally be dead, they're walking around. So there's lots of stuff that can happen. I mean, we're lucky that right now the poles aren't going to flip. We don't think for a while, even though there's some strange magnetic anomalies, the poles moving fast towards Siberia and all that. But some scientists don't think we're subject to a pole shift quite yet. But there's some strange things that can happen when our atmosphere gets thin and the protection goes down. And I think that's something else that can happen and can generate these types of experiences. Just thought I'd mention that. That was something I found very interesting last night.
Oh my gosh, yeah. I was thinking about the show I did with James Rink and Jimmy Payne. We talked about reanimating corpses and how the German scientists used to do that. The Schmotzies, as my friend Bryce says, the Schmotzi scientists were reanimating corpses. I wonder if they had, I'm sure they had the knowledge of that plasma and things like that.
They've had plasma. Scientists have known about plasma since the early 1900s. So most assuredly, they at least knew what it was. And the fact that they may have reanimated corpses is not at all beyond the realm of possibility. It's really not.
Oh yeah, this anything is possible. Anything. If I've learned anything, it's anything is possible in this wild and crazy world that we live in. And
there are lots of things that are possible.
There are. Well, I have another account actually of this is out of a cave out of Missouri, and this happened in 1995. A group of cavers. I don't have a picture of this one, okay, but a group of cavers in Missouri said that there was a creature. It was a creature. They wouldn't call it a man or a human. They said that it stood about 7 feet tall, had brown, scaly skin. The face and the head were shaped like a human with a flat nose, but there were no ears or hair. It had a massive 4 to 5 foot tail, 4 to 5 foot long tail that tapered, actually, not tampered. It says tamper, but it's tapered to a point. And it was dressed in a gold metallic outfit with long pants and shoes. Other people have since claimed to have run across a strange reptilian creature in the caves in Missouri. Now, John, there's a lot of weird stuff in Missouri. And I'm not talking about the people. I love the people I know from Missouri. Okay?
I was about to make a joke about that, Jessica. Oh, that's
it's
funny.
Not the people. It's not the people. We got good people out of Missouri, okay? But they've got the Ozarks out there. And a lot of werewolf reports come out of Missouri. I've had Eric on my show, Edie Testerman. We've talked about the werewolf reports that he's taken out of there. And so this doesn't surprise me. Does this surprise you? There might be a reptilian, a lizard man in Missouri caves?
Listen, nothing surprises me when it comes to the lizard man. I have theories. One is that lizard man is natural. One is that it is man-made, like at an Army or Navy research base where they've done lots of strange experiments. I'm not going to say where I think that happens, but I've come a little too close for comfort for that one. And I think that there are a couple different types. And I know that when we had that very first Lizard Man Festival, Lyle Blackburn was up there talking, and a lady said, we used to see these things all the time, and we got to where we didn't think a lot about them. They just kind of come and go in our yard, and they never bothered us. I thought, God, I would be bothered with a lizard. Well, I mean, wouldn't you, Jessica?
Well, yes, and I've had David Pardue has been on my show to talk about his lizard man in his backyard. I don't know if you're familiar. I don't know if you've heard that yet. David.
No, I'll have to ask him. I'll have to ask him this weekend. That's great.
Maybe I'd say that maybe I could coax him into adding it to his presentation this weekend. But I'm sure he'll definitely talk about it. I do have a show where he came on and he has pictures of what looks like it actually does look like a reptilian crawling out of his yard. So it's unnerving, and it was enough to cause alarm because of the children. His grandkids are at his house a lot. And there's neighborhood kids. And so you gotta take that into consideration when you have children around. You've got a possible reptilian in your neighborhood crawling out of the ground. Okay. Not to mention the shapeshifters and stuff.
Yes, that is exactly right. And
I'm just kidding.
It all can get kind of scary. And I think you have to use your judgment as to where you go and what you can potentially interact with. I know I'm very careful. I mean, I'm the first one to say I carry a Bible with me. Mm-hmm. I do everything I can to ward off bad news. Is that crazy, Jessica?
No, we talked about the importance of having a lot of spiritual protection around us when we're encountering cryptids or putting ourselves in the position of encountering cryptids. Riley, who was on the show with us, he was telling the audience about on Saturday night about how he had put a lot of spiritual protection around our entire team. And where we were staying last weekend out in East Tennessee on that cryptid investigation that we were on. And you got to put on the full armor of God when you go out there, when you are going to be encountering stuff that could potentially be demonic, John.
Yes, that is true. And I have just recently seen, well, okay, we'll get into that. Jessica, I'll talk to you about that after the show. There were some demonic signs at a major public event in Europe last couple of weeks, and I'll share those with you, and we'll see if we want to explore that on one of your episodes.
Okay. Yes, for sure. I'd love that. The angry oh my gosh. Andrew said there's also an angry waitress cryptid. Oh my gosh. I was just thinking when I saw that comment, I did mention to my audience a while back that there's a woman that is a cook at a local restaurant not too far from where I live who has slits for pupils. Okay, and she's the cook at this restaurant. Food's really good too. Now I gotta wonder what's in that food. What's in the food?
Well, I tell you what, when I come down there, can you and your son and I, can we go eat breakfast there?
Oh gosh, if you will act, you got to act normal. You can't stare. Okay. I'm just kidding.
Well, yes, I don't know, Jessica. You know, I never act normal, so don't ask me to do something that I'm not used to doing. Okay.
Okay. Okay. Okay. We'll do it. It's a plan. We'll do it for sure.
Good.
Well, speaking of split pupils and slits for pupils and things, let's get into the Vietnam reptilian case that you have, because I think it's either the same as what I was going to talk about today, or it will correlate with it today. So what do you know about cave dwelling reptilians?
Okay, this story comes from the well-known psychic and lady that deals with a lot of the fairies and the little people up there. She's near Montreal, and her name is Robin. She's very well known up there. She's not too well known down here. She's a really nice lady. I had her on my show a couple of times, and she told me that her father was in the Vietnam War. I said, wow, that was rough. I know. She said it was extremely rough because he was part of a detail. They would go out there, and it was raining. I mean, the weather was always terrible in Vietnam when, half the time. So they would always say, regardless of what you see, you can't talk about it, and shoot to kill. Mm-hmm. Shoot to kill. If you see something strange, ask questions later. So there were 3 or 4 of them out there. It was raining like cats and dogs. And they saw standing upright something that looked like a human, but it was a lizard. And it had a tail. Now, they just described the lizard man, a lizard man, like the lizard man from Bishopville, South Carolina. Mm-hmm. And they shot at it. It ran. They followed it, came to this cave. Now, this was before this particular cave was well known. Turns out to be the largest cave in the world. And they got in there, and they started looking around. There was some light in there. And then all of a sudden, they noticed they were surrounded by a ring of like 12 lizard men that looked hungry. You know about that looking hungry, Jessica, right?
Oh God, I'm usually hungry myself. So
yeah, but so what happened is they actually had, I don't know, there were some extra high-powered rifles, and they just shot around in a circle and killed them all. And then they left. They came back the next day. What do you think they found?
Oh God, I don't know.
No remains. The bodies were gone. Okay. That's what they found. So that's one story of the lizard man in Vietnam. Now, the same gentleman, they had a real paranormal time. They're coming back from Vietnam to the West Coast. They're in the middle of the Pacific Ocean. So they're actually doing some fishing. They would do some fishing, to catch fish for the guys to eat. And then they had a real commotion in the net that they had, and they brought up, believe it or not, a mermaid.
Whoa, a mermaid?
It was a rather small one.
What did it look like? Did they describe it?
Well, she said that her father said it looked like a woman, was not very good looking, kind of like a little what we would call messed up. But it was a woman. She had a tail. God. And she was squirming and trying to get out. They didn't want her to get out and onto the boat, and wondered what would happen if she did. So anyway, they had her for a couple of days in the net. They would give her water, which she would drink. They would give her fish, which she would eat raw. And then came the problem. They had another mermaid following the boat that was larger and meaner looking than this one.
Oh, it's going to get its friend.
It's going to get his daughter, they suspected.
Oh, okay.
And it was a mess. So anyway, they finally decided that it might be better for them to let that one go. So they hauled her down into the water, let her go, and that was it. That was the end of that. Both of them left.
Wow.
But and they were again told, do not tell. He only told this when he left the Navy. So, I mean, those are two stories that are kind of related by the same person. That is the father of Robin, the well-known lady that interacts with the little people up there in Canada. She's well known up there, and I need to see her. I need to have her back on the show. She's really sweet. She's a nice lady.
Wow.
So that's my
fantastic.
mermaid story and my lizard man story. Lizard man's all over.
And they go together. It's the same crowd. That is wild. That is super wild. Great encounters, actually. And in that same cave is something I'm about to tell you a little story behind that cave, and I've got some pictures of some actual reptilians out of that same cave. What's up, Drewski? I see you in here. Thank you for being here today. I was also with him at that both those Tennessee trips, actually, to the Skinwalker Cave and to the one this week. And so thanks for being here. Okay, let me take this comment down because I'm going to show some pictures of this cave that you're referring to. And I believe I have an actual picture. Now this, I've got a couple of pictures I'm not so sure about. Okay, they may be people dressed up like lizards, but I'm not sure. So I'm going to let the audience decide. How about that?
Okay.
Now, first of all, here's this cave. This is the inside, right when you go inside of this cave. This is actually called, let's see if I can get the name right. The Song Dong Cave. Let's just say Song Dong.
That's it.
Okay. It's located near the Laos-Vietnam border, and there's probably photographic evidence right here. This guy right here, I believe his name's Hokan or something like that. If I'm pronouncing everything wrong. But around 1992 or 1993, this gentleman right here took a picture of what he believes is a reptilian out of this cave. Here's the picture. This is it kind of blown up a little bit. The local man who found this mysterious devil creature is what they called it. Its face was described as resembling a dragon or lizard, and its body was much like a human by comparison. And so they were giving tours of this cave, right? Because it's the biggest cave in the entire world, and people were claiming that they were seeing reptilian people in this cave. Now here's one of these pictures right here too. I don't know. This could be a person dressed up in a bodysuit, or I don't know. I'm not sure what this is. Okay. If Barry were here, I could hear Barry laughing at this one right now. Okay. But this is one of those pictures right here. Who knows, y'all? I don't know. But here's another one as well. This one's supposed to be from this cave, actually. And to me, that does look kind of like a gremlin off that movie Gremlins. That's what it looks like to me. But that's supposed to be another one of these little dragon lizards. But this one right here looks way more human than lizard, if you ask me. And this is a close-up of a bigger shot, which is just basically, it just looked like a dark cave. And if you zoom in on it, that's what you see, is that thing right there, John. And so people have been going missing out of this cave, and they were taking tourists down there. People could go and explore the cave on guided tours, and when they were being guided, people were going missing. One person went missing, was never found again, and they assumed that the lizard people got him out of that cave. So I don't know. What do you think? What do you think about that picture of this alleged reptilian, John?
You know, it looks reasonable. It looks like it could be something very strange, very supernatural. I mean, I guess I'm open to that. I mean, and that other one you had of the individual crouching, it looks like it could be real too. There's no reason to call something fake unless you're certain that it's fake. Yeah. And I don't know. I think most of these are very reasonable.
You know what? Here's the thing. I did some digging. I could not find where anyone had negated that picture or said it was a hoax. I mean, I know people are always saying, oh, that's a hoax, that's not real. But I didn't see any proof that it was real or fake. Okay, so there's that. And so we're showing it today, not knowing for sure what it is. But I'm sure there's some AI. I mean, I don't think it's AI. I think if anything, it'd be somebody dressed up as a reptilian. That's what I think. But it could be real as well. I don't know.
Well, if I was dressed up like that, I wouldn't want to be back in that cave to begin with.
I know, right?
You turn around and all of a sudden you see something that that's supposed to be fake and it's real. Yeah, I don't want to mess with that.
Exactly. It's hard enough for me to get down inside a cave and like be comfortable down there. It is what it is. But to wear a costume and dress up, I don't know.
No.
I'm not so sure about that. I wouldn't be comfortable painting my body green, getting in a cave.
Yep.
Oh my gosh. I don't know why that's so funny. But you know, they say that there is, you know, the cave entrances go right into inner earth. Okay. And when I mean inner earth, like inner earth could be caves, of course, but maybe even deeper down into the hollow earth. And we do have this map, I believe, you know, Admiral Byrd, who was on, what is that, Project High Jump, talked about going inside the earth through Antarctica, I believe, and the Agartha. Sorry, I put the right accent on the right syllable. But this is a map of hollow earth, allegedly. And I believe that there's a lot of entrances to hollow earth, and I think caves are some of those entrances into a whole other reality that most of us will never see.
I mean, I feel pretty certain that Mammoth Cave is one of those entrances because I've heard stories from people. It's just too creepy up there.
Oh yeah, they're all creepy, for sure. And you know, and something else that we have, something that I'm not so sure about today in the United States, but I don't know. We've been seeing a lot of videos and pictures of giants standing outside of caves in the United States and all over the world. And we do have pictures, of course. We have evidence of giants in places like Lovelock Cave in Nevada. Okay, and giants pretty much all over the world. And of course we also have the case of the Kandahar giant that lived in, and this is all, you know, it's supposed to be alleged, but I mean, I've done remote viewing on it, and I've had people contact me about it. And I do believe that there were soldiers attacked by a gigantic human or a humanoid out of Afghanistan in Kandahar. And it has ties to inner earth. Okay. I think they're probably living in those caves. Actually, they say the locals had already warned the army or the military that there were giants. The locals didn't go to that area because of the giants. They're cannibals. They said cannibalistic giants lived in those caves, John.
Yep.
Yeah, so that's something else to worry about with these caves.
And a number of those soldiers that came in, that went in, didn't come back out.
Well, they were torn to shreds. They were ripped to pieces, and so, you know, there's that element as well. And I do have a few pictures. I don't know. I'm sure this is probably not the exact cave entrance, but it's just a visual representation of kind of what we're talking about here. Also, you know, we have, you mentioned the Grand Canyon earlier, and the Grand Canyon is a really interesting place. I believe it was Kincaid was the guy's name, who was an explorer that he was contracted by the Smithsonian, of all people, or all organizations, to go find this ancient Egyptian settlement that was in a cave in the Grand Canyon. And I don't think this is an actual picture from inside there, but it was something similar maybe. But they said that there was big enough to house 30,000 people inside these caves. And in that area of the Grand Canyon is known for reptilian sightings, all sorts of different cryptids, but the ant people were supposed to have lived there as well, inside some of these caves and caverns. Lots of ancient Egyptian artifacts, and skinwalkers, of course, are seen there as well. And I do believe they probably reside in these caves as well. John, what do you think?
Probably. I mean, you know, the Grand Canyon is just basically south of Utah, and we know that there are skinwalkers up there, and I think they're probably from Utah all the way down, probably into Mexico. I mean, they're not just going to be in one little area. They're going to habitate. They're going to habitate in a wider area, and a lot of people have seen things that they believe to be skinwalkers. It's just one of the things. Now, I haven't seen anything like that around here, but I don't know necessarily if I've been looking.
Well, they usually come looking for you, and I've actually encountered one. I don't know. The man that I was with was an elder Cherokee, Two of the guys were, one was Medicine Man Elder and Chief David and his buddy. And we were camping out on top of a mountain in North Carolina, John. And I was minding my own business. I was seeing there's a lot of paranormal stuff going on around us the entire time I was there. But one night, Mr. Will, his name was Will, he stood up and he started yelling at something behind me. And it was right behind my tent, actually. And he was speaking in this old ancient dialect of Cherokee. He said that nobody hardly even knows it. They definitely don't speak it very often. But he said that it was actually what he was yelling at was he was telling whatever this was to leave. And he told me that it was actually a skinwalker. And it had gotten too close to us, and he told it to go away. And
wow.
he had some kind of interesting connection to the skinwalker there. I'm just saying. But that was in North Carolina. And yeah, could he have been messing with us? Absolutely. But was he? I don't think so. That man was way too serious to be messing with us like that. So it did make me a little scared to go to sleep that night in my tent. It did. After they left. Yeah. But nonetheless, they do have those things up there. They're everywhere. But also we also something else is in caves, something that I came across. Drewski, who's in the chat, we saw this together. There's a possible dragon out in Alabama at a location. It's at some land that we went to, and we were guided over by a gentleman who was hiking out there. He said, "This is my dragon," and he goes out and he cleans it off all the time. Whenever he's out there, his wife's hiking on the trails and stuff. He cleans his dragon off. And it looked like a petrified dragon. And now dragons have been known to live in caves, John. And I know that we may not have dragons so much today, unfortunately or fortunately. But dragons are another cryptid, I guess you could say, that do live and reside in caves. It may still reside in caves today. Who knows? Some people, they were describing those reptilians as having dragon faces, John.
There's no telling. I mean, I know that we have some reptilians that are human-like, that we even claim have integrated themselves into our society. But I don't know. Nothing is beyond the realm of imagination here, because I keep hearing a lot more stories about reptilians and the reptilian human hybrid combination.
Oh yeah. I know this is a loaded question, but how would they all become, hybrids with humans? How does this even happen? I mean, do you think that these things like the reptilians, let's just say, for instance, have they always been here? Or do you think that they are a human reptile hybrid of some sort, or dragon human?
I think they have been here for a long, long time. From what I understand, they have infiltrated up into our government. They are making policies. It's just scary. So you got to watch out for everything that you're asked to do by the government or by somebody, and make sure there's the reasonableness factor.
Yes.
And I mean,
that's
and
right.
You know what I was going to do, one of my favorite films, and I know that I'm sure you know about this film too. It's They Live, starring Roddy Piper.
I love that movie. Absolutely.
Everybody loves that movie. And, it just goes to show you that unless we have some particular way of understanding who people really are, there could be reptilians all around.
Yes, there probably are reptilians all around. And for the reference, for people who aren't familiar with that movie, Roddy Piper, right? He puts on these glasses, and I've actually done a show thanks to Cryptidville. I want to give him full credit for that. He's usually in the chat. Mark gave me that idea for that show, so the dicyanin dye goggles, those are interdimensional viewing technology that our military tested out during the Vietnam War, they say. And this type of dye, it's actually I think it's illegal to buy it or something. I don't know. I mean, you can buy dicyanin dye goggles today, but you can get some good ones that are kind of expensive, that you can see things that our normal eyes, like our naked eye, can't see.
Jessica, excuse me. When you say kind of expensive, what type of price point are you talking about?
Well, you can buy some off of Etsy, let's just say, or eBay for like $300. Okay, but the real ones are going to be way more than that. And that's because this dye has like been outlawed or something, where it's just some dye that this guy put in between two pieces of glass, made goggles out of them, and they gave them to the helicopter pilots in Vietnam. And some, it wasn't the pilots, it was the gunners on the back of the helicopters with the guns. And what happened was they put these goggles on, and they said they saw demons fly up beside their helicopter, and they started shooting at them. And they said it was like hell, that they were seeing piles of dead bodies on the ground, and it wasn't actually there. I mean, it was there to them in their reality when they put the glasses on. But
really?
The normal people that didn't have the glasses on couldn't see it. So they started shooting at the other helicopters because they were shooting at those demons. They thought they were shooting the demons that were flying up next to their vehicles, to their helicopters. Yeah. So that reminded me of the cyanin dye goggles that the guy in the movie They Live he puts them on, and he can see normal humans, and he can see the people pretending to be humans with those glasses on, and they look like skeleton zombies or something. And when the people who are pretending to be humans caught on that he knew he was hip to it, they went after him. It's kind of like it's very symbolic of the Great Awakening that we're basically in right now. Okay, I think that we're seeing that not everybody's human, John, like you said. I don't know. Are you human?
Well, you know, it's funny. It's funny. Some people who look human don't act very human.
Yeah,
that's another thing.
Well, yeah, I actually talked the other day about the uncanny valley too, and that's a cool topic to get into, where you can tell there's just something off, like something looks like it's human, but it's not 100%. And so I think that's why it's important for us to really tune in to ourselves and to go with our gut, and to just be aware, fill out people's energy and fill out the frequency they're emitting. Yeah. Because you never know. And not all reptilians are going to be hiding in a cave waiting to jump out at you. Some of them are making your lunch.
Or they may be sitting behind a desk in a Fortune 500 company.
Yeah,
you never know.
That's true. Or running the country or something, or your local governments. So I just think it's really interesting and really, really wild. And, and even ETs, Maureen said she's an alien. I saw that comment, Maureen. She's an alien. I think a lot of people are aliens by normal human standards. Maybe some people are not all from here, from this planet. And and that's another thing that have been seen in caves are what look like to be ETs as well. Now, John, do you think that there's a possibility that they're coming up from inner Earth and using these caves as it's like a doorway into our world?
That I don't know. I mean, I feel like a lot of them are extraterrestrials, is what I think. I've never really thought about or explored the idea that they may be coming up from inner Earth, but they might. Who knows? I mean, the only country that ever explored much of the inner Earth was Nazi Germany. And then it's funny, you got 125 countries down there in Antarctica. They all come back and they all cheerfully sign the only treaty that's never been broken. Don't you find that odd?
Yeah, that is weird. That's very weird. Yeah. Well, speaking of inner Earth, I did a show a while back, and it was on the Green Children of Woolpit. The Green Children of Woolpit out of England. And those are two children that showed up in a field, and their skin was green. It was tinted green, and they didn't speak any language that was native to any of the areas around there. And when I think the little girl lived into adulthood, the little boy perished because he wasn't getting the nutrition he needed. They couldn't eat the food of the locals either. But she said that they had actually, when she was able to communicate eventually and speak English, she said that they had come up from inner Earth, and they lived in a place called, I want to say Newfoundland or something like that, or Newfoundland, or I can't remember. But they were herding their father's flock of something, probably sheep or cows. And they took off, they walked into a cave, and they came out, they saw a bright light, and it was actually the Earth's sun, our sun out here. And they said they didn't have a sun where they lived. It was always twilight. So it goes back into history. If you really dig and you listen to some of these stories and you do, like I said, you do your research, do some digging, you can find that there have been people probably living in inner Earth, maybe even longer than we've been here. So something else to look out for. And you got to be really careful in caves too, because, if there are, like what I felt, it could be a portal of some sort of threshold that we crossed when we went down there. You can go down there and never be seen again and never come out and end up in the bull pit, the green kids world down there.
And didn't one of them die early, and then the other one became less and less green?
The little boy did die, and the little girl lived for a while. And so we have all these caves around the United States, okay, and that's something that we kind of have just deduced that maybe this is where the Bigfoots are living. This is where the dogmen stay. We don't know for sure, but if you go to this other map, we've got the deep underground military bases as well. And John, I think there could be a connection to the deep underground military bases and some of these critters, these cryptids, these creatures that people are encountering in these tunnels and in these caves. There could be some experimentation going on, and we don't know for sure what kind of programs they got going on underground.
Lord, I don't want to be the one to find out first. Do you?
I know, me neither. I mean, well, yeah, I put myself in those positions sometimes. So yes, I wouldn't be the first. I mean, a lot of people do encounter strange things in the caves and in the tunnels. Say my word of advice for the audience today: don't go poking your nose around in tunnels, y'all. If you're not prepared to come face to face with something that might eat you. I'm just saying.
Okay? That's true.
That's the final word of advice for today, everybody.
Real words of wisdom there, Jessica.
What say you, John? This has been a great show, by the way. I know we're kind of coming to the end of the show. It went by so fast today, but do you have any final thoughts today? And we're going to get into the conference here after the final thoughts. But on the inner Earth creepers,
other than I've enjoyed it. These have been good stories that I reviewed, that you've reviewed. We talked about them, and they gave me some food for thought. So I just want to say thank you. It's always a good learning experience when I'm on a show with you, Jessica.
Thank you. I learned from you too, John. I'm always learning. I'm learning myself. And a lot of this research I do right before the show, not always, but some of it. And so we're just all learning together on these things. So thank you for being here. And do you have any plans to ever go cave diving, John? Or spelunking?
No, I'll probably go up in a few castles though.
Okay, well that's different.
Especially in New Orleans,
when
I'm going to be going with Matt Delph and hopefully Elijah Henderson, and maybe you if you want to come along. That'd be a swinging crowd,
I would love that. Yeah, that'd be a lot of fun actually. Elijah's up there at the Land Between the Lakes. Actually, yes, he is. So I'd like to meet him.
And we're exploring doing a conference up there in Clarksville with him. I think it'd be fun.
Oh, good. Well, I'd like to come to that. Okay.
I was getting ready to say, if we did, would you come up there with us?
Absolutely. I'll put it on the calendar for sure.
Okay, great. Well, I tell you, Jessica, I've got a funny and interesting story of something that happened to me this morning regarding the conference. May I share that with everybody?
Absolutely. Go ahead.
I got a phone call from a guy named Mike. It said, "This is Mike. I hear you're having a conference. They're talking about the Bigfoot Comicon or the Myrtle Beach Bigfoot." I said, "Yeah, we are." He said, "Well, I'm an author and I would like to talk with you about having a table there." I said, "Okay, that's good. Look, I've got to go to a meeting and I'll call you back." So about an hour and a half later, I called him back. He said, "Yeah, for sure. He's a policeman here in Myrtle Beach." And he said, "I write murder mysteries for teenagers and I'd love to come there and meet some and sell them some books." I said, "Come on." I said, "Well, look, it's been great talking to you. I'll talk to you later." He said, "Well, now, John, there's something I need to address with you." I said, "Okay." He said, "Do you really believe in Bigfoot?" I said, "Yeah, I've seen Bigfoot 4 times." He said, "Good. Well, do you remember the name Simon Garth?" I said, "Yes. Why do I know that?" He said, "Well, Simon Garth claimed that he had the spirit of Bigfoot in a bottle.
Bigfoot in a bottle.
And he also claimed that he had Bigfoot on ice in a freezer. I said, really? Yeah, I said, wait, wasn't that back in Myrtle Beach? He said, well, yes, it was. And I just wanted to let you know that I'm actually Simon Garth. I said, you're kidding.
Oh, God.
And he told me the whole improbable story of how that kind of a joke got all the way to Discovery Channel with a blank check and
God.
Art Bell. So I am going to introduce, as most of my talk, I'm going to ask Simon Garth questions about his fantastic experience. So this morning he just came to me and said, I want to come to your show. I said, absolutely. And he's going to let me interview him. Tomorrow night, Dr. Trey Dunaway and I are going to interview him on ScaryCast. That'll be up by 10 o'clock Eastern tomorrow night. And then Saturday, at the very end of the Bigfoot Comic-Con, we're going to talk to the amazing Simon Garth.
Oh my gosh. Well, I have not heard of him yet. So what an interesting story. Okay.
We're going to have, if everybody can see this, I have the story right off the internet, and I will have multiple copies. Okay. And he promised to bring some jars that he's going to autograph that say Bigfoot in a bottle. I'm getting one.
You better rub it the right way.
Should. I think that's a cool idea. Just how a story about a frustrated guy on eBay went all the way to Art Bell and Discovery Channel. He said Discovery Channel said that if I really had that, they had a blank check. I said,
oh my gosh.
I know. So anyway, we're going to have you. We're going to have Mike Famelant. We're going to have David Pardue. We're going to have Matt Delph. We're going to have NCI Investigates. Of course, I'll be there. And a lot of fun. That's at the Sheraton Four Points, next to the Waterway in Myrtle Beach, South Carolina. The inaugural Bigfoot Comic-Con / Myrtle Beach Bigfoot. And Jessica Jones, one of our keynote speakers.
I will be there. And where can people get more information on this? Is it myrtlebeastbigfoot.com?
Or just go to bigfootcomiccon.com.
Okay.
And all the information is there. You can buy tickets. I've had some calls. I've got to call the folks back. And we're looking forward to having a great conference, a great time, and a lot of fun.
Oh, that's wonderful. I can't wait. It's always fun. We have a really good time at your events, John. And thank you for inviting me to be a speaker again. It's always a good time.
And then we look forward to having you on the 19th of June for the 2nd annual World UFO Conference in Mount Airy, Georgia. And I did get that picture of the 2nd annual World UFO Conference to you, and you can put it up on your material. And thanks a lot, Jessica. It's always fun to be here.
Oh, of course. Ooh, that's my alarm going off. I got to go pick up my son, my Bigfoot kid. And thank you, John, so much. I will post the World UFO Conference flyer on my social media today. I'll put it up on my website, and we'll start promoting that. But first things first is we got to get through the Myrtle Beach Bigfoot Festival. And so y'all please come see us at that event. It's going to be so much fun. And we get to be at the beach too. And that's going to be a really good time, and to hang out with these good people. We got Harley Owens has been in the chat with us today, and Harley will be one of the speakers. He was at the Smoky Mountains Bigfoot thing this weekend as well. So, and he was on my show on his drive home from that. So you can't ask for a better lineup of Bigfoot field researchers out there. And so y'all come see us. And I guess we'll see you next time, John. Thank you so much for being here. This is great.
See you this weekend, Jessica, and see any of your fans that come. Look forward to seeing you at Bigfoot Comic-Con.
Okay. Yes. I will see you this weekend. And if you guys have any questions, go to the website and get your tickets and come and see us. And I will be back here on Wednesday, you guys, with a wonderful show, Glitch in the Matrix at 1 p.m. Eastern. So until then, you guys, please be safe out there. I hope y'all had a good time today, just like we did. And y'all be safe. And like I always say, keep your head on a swivel, y'all. Try not to go cave diving if you don't have to, unless you love it. I don't know. Just don't go in those tunnels unless you're ready to face something that might eat you. All right, John, y'all have a great day, and I'll see y'all next time. Bye.
Bye-bye.